This summer we ended up having to start feeding extremely early because of the drought. So, it was second week of August. We were putting pails on these colonies just to keep them going. At the same time, we were feeding them a shit ton of protein just to help to extend that summer nest as far into fall as we could. So I think, what do I have? Something like 1,700 hives, including the nukes. We were feeding 4 to 5 pounds of protein per colony, except for 3 yards. I rented a protein and I figured I'll just use the 3 yards as my test yards to see if the actual protein feeding had done anything, just to see. There's always that fear of feel-good activities, right? So I just wanted to make sure I'm using these test yards just to prove that the amount of protein that I was putting down wasn't just one of those feel-good activities. Throughout the sampling, right now I'm going to do my mite sampling, it's given me an excuse to dig down into that nest to see exactly what's going on. I've been finding a lot of promise. I've been seeing lots of capped brood. I'm seeing lots of open brood, and we're extending ourselves into September here. I always figure it's that September nest that truly is your defined winter nest. So it's extremely exciting for me. I see that queen fighting for space and pushing that syrup out to the sides. This is one of the yards which I hadn't fed the protein to, and I'm just going to dig down into a colony or two here just to see exactly what's going on, and to see if that protein, to see if I'm seeing the same type of nest within these colonies as as I did throughout the rest of the operation. So this is a very well populated hive. It's absolutely terrific. So I've been doing my samples on the 4th frame in, just because I want to get as close to that brood nest as I can to gather the mites. Lots of bees and lots of feed. What I'm seeing here is lots of capped brood, which is good. And I see the queen's giving up her space here, lots of open space, and the bees are just starting to backfill out of syrup. So this time of year, the bees really start to restrict that nest, and my job as a beekeeper is I want to chase that restriction with syrup just to prepare them, but I don't want to overfeed them to where I'm restricting that winter nest. So there's that constant balance. Frame of brood, and they're leaving open space. This side they're backfilling. There's the queen there. Nice little blackie. So I know where she is now, so I can confidently take that sample. And what is she doing here? She has eggs on that side. Open space on the other side. I'm just going to go through to see how much is actually going on. I'll give you these two. When you need the tub, just let me know. Okay. Here's a slab of brood. Open space around the outside, and they're just starting to backfill that. Here's Here's some capped brood with a little bit of larvae there, and they're backfilling open space. Looks like this nest is starting to restrict itself. Capped brood. That's beautiful. The capped brood is going to contribute to that winter nest. But I'm not seeing a lot of open larvae around it. This side they're backfilling already as we're getting close to the outside. And this frame is being filled with syrup. This nest has dramatically slowed down. There's a lot of capped brood in this nest, and that's going to contribute to the winter nest, but there isn't the frames of open brood that I've been seeing in the other colonies that have been fed a lot of protein. Ooh, this is a nuke. Let's see how this nuke is doing. I'm gonna have to bring frames. We haven't finished out the foundation yet. Brood, lots of young larvae. Not as many bees in this colony, so I should be able to find the queen. Nice little slab of brood, nicely rimmed. See, just the way you want it. Brood, pollen, sugar source. Very nice, very nice. I love seeing brood this time of year. Maybe a little more spotty here. She's kind of letting it go back a little bit. Brood emerging. Beautiful frame of brood, just a slab. That screams winter nest. Same on this side. A nice little queen. I haven't seen her, but she's doing a good job. Probably missed her. Here's a frame of open brood. Very, very nice. Very consistent. I'm seeing consistency here. I'm seeing like older larvae going out, and out here is old brood that's hatching out. They're backfilling with syrup. There she is. Nice little blackie. So this frame is emerging, and she's filling this right out. These young queens, I tell you, they're sure aggressive. They'll brood, 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 and then a frame of feed after that. So we know where she is, which means I'm going to take my sample off this one. No, I want to take off a young nest. So I'm going to take it off this one. Over the open brood, that's the best place to take it. You know what, it's easier if I just put things back together. So I'll come back and I'll give them some brood comb. if I remember. They're going to need space for food. By the size of this winter nest they're making here, they're going to need to fill this up with feed. I don't know if they're going to be making much more wax. Sample 3. I'm going to go through, I'm going to take my mite sample at the same time. Is there an extra foamy over there?
Sorry?
Is there an extra foamy?
Yep, got it.
We'll use it on this colony. Lots of bees in here, like look at these guys. It's a terrific nest. What I want to see is if they're actually taking that brood and extending it into September here. So here is a nice frame of brood. And they're leaving space around it, filling it up full of syrup, so they're backfilling this frame. Just can't take my sample off here. This is a terrific looking nest. Here's another frame of brood. And they're backfilling the empty space. The broods emerged here and they're backfilling this empty space. This hive is starting to follow suit to much of what I'm seeing in the yards. I haven't fed any supplement. My queen is not extending this brood nest into September. Here's a frame that's the brood's emerging and they're quickly filling it back up. So lots of brood going into September. This is my winter nest. But I'm not seeing the young brood as I was in the other colonies. Frame of brood that's emerging and they're backfilling. So I'm not seeing any open brood. So this nest has already decided to shut down, and I'm assuming they're shutting down because they didn't have that inflow of protein to help extend the ambition of the brood nest forward. Yeah, and this is a frame that has been backfilled. So the next logical thing would be to come and put protein on these colonies, but I'm going to follow through with my trial just to observe their performance through winter. And now that they shut down, they've made the decision they're going to follow through with it. There's a lot of brood emerging right now. Anything in September I always figure is your winter nest. So I dump my bees into a bucket. All the old ones fly off, and you can notice these ones aren't flying. There's not a lot of ones because these are a lot of young bees. These are winter bees. And I don't want to scoop up the queen, so this gives me a second look. Okay. Box of bees. We have supplement on the nests. They're devouring that. The intention of these patties isn't to stimulate the nest itself. It's to complement the pollen coming in and just kind of fortifying that diet to provide a very high, rich, nutritious diet for the bees. to make sure they have all the nutrients they need. In this particular area anyways, there's a lot of grain field. There isn't a lot of natural forage except for the ditches along the highways and the mile roads. So I'm bringing in just a little bit of pollen. I'm seeing some pollen coming in right now, providing them with all those base nutrients. And what they're doing is they're taking that and making just a masterful little nest. Running in some brood now. So here is a slab of brood. Got a good solid frame of brood. I'm looking around the edges here, and this is all empty. I would project that when this brood emerges, she's not going to fill that back up with eggs or larvae. That gives me a lot of space there to fill up with feed. And I want to start feeding to backfill so these bees have time to cure. Here's another frame with brood on it. This is a beautiful nest. Pollen around the outside, some pollen in there, some feed around here. I'm seeing a little bit of open brood, and then she's letting the space go on the outside here. So she's just using what's within the nest. And this side is right full of eggs, so she's using this right up. As soon as there are eggs in there or larvae, they won't fill it up full of syrup. Okay, so that's probably, I'll shake bees off the next one. Generally, I don't look for the queen. Well, when I pull a frame up, usually take about 4 frames in. Ooh, this is a good looking frame. This is right full of larvae, fresh larvae. This is the frame that I want to take my sample on. So I'll just take a quick peek for the queen. This side has larvae just floating in jelly. Just a beautiful little nest. And I'm not seeing her here. But for the off chance that I missed her, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shake the bees into this tub. I just want to see how much space she's actually using to develop this winter nest. Got some capped brood, and she's chasing it with eggs. Nice, nice, nice. And this side she's letting go. So this side is emerged brood, and they're just starting to fill it up full of syrup. I must have missed her. Here's a slab of brood. Whoa, just a beautiful slab of brood. Going into September, this is winter nest. Look at that, eh? These young bees will emerge. They'll look for protein. They'll turn straight up to those patties, devour the patty, further develop, and, you know, fatten up. Another slab of brood. And just a little bit of open larvae on this side, but not much. They're chasing right behind with syrup. That's as far as I'm going to go. So, using these as my check yards, I can, you know, very confidently say that the protein has allowed the nest to extend, and I'm just going to monitor these 3 yards and the other ones that have been fed protein and just to see the actual performance as they leave the winter shed and continue to develop that springtime nest. It's going to be extremely interesting.